I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
Hey,
Oh, hi, Mark.
yeah, yeah, very consistent of you.
I tried to nail it as best as I could to actually start with the recording, and I think I did a pretty good job.
Okay,
But if you ever get around to watching this, you'll see for yourself.
all right, sounds good.
Um, are are you good to start?
Yeah, I'm good.
Excellent. So a theme song plays here, but for the video version, I don't edit that in. But for the audio version, I do. So everybody gets a little special something. You look the same.
So do you.
That's fair. Um, hello and
I
welcome.
think I have a bit more facial hair now than I
Yep.
did.
Hello and welcome to Hello We Don't Talk Let's Talk, the show where I, Christopher Hua, reconnect with old friends. And today is the jovial Mr. Mark Bekhyt. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you. Jovial, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I feel like Santa Claus.
yeah. I was gonna say jolly, and then I decided we're gonna go slightly off that path, but be in the same space.
All right,
Oof,
that's fine. I'm good with either.
my voice is not feeling it right now, but that's fine. We press on. Uh, Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just got home from work. Yeah, having a chill
So,
day so far.
so you said you were working out in Chatham, which I can only assume is away from your home. Do you just like get put up in a hotel while you're away, or
Yes, yeah, these are my hotel digs behind me.
excellent?
My classy Holiday Inn Express.
You got that membership going?
Yeah, I'm getting my hotel reward benefits. It's pretty good.
Excellent. This question, so my first question for you, Mark, other than that, it actually comes from our previous guest. And he would like to know if your enjoyment of the movie Borat has increased, decreased, or stayed the same with your newfound ability to actually say my wife uh, in a Borat cadence and mean it.
I didn't even think about it. So probably would mean it stayed the same. Hasn't even.
Oof, but going forward, it's going to be at the top of your mind, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you've brought it up, I'm gonna have a sleepless night, I think.
Well, hopefully you'll manage to get some Z's so you can get back to work. But it's been a hot minute since I've seen you. It was probably just
Yeah.
like at a house party that you may have had organized or went to and invited me along. Um,
Uh, Maybe, yeah.
Probably around like
I,
2013, 2014, maybe. But yeah,
Something like that. I mean, I know it's not the last time, but I very distinctly remember the time we got on the same bus to my surprise birthday party. So
ooh, yes, that too.
I
That
remember my
that
roommate had to restrain herself from like stabbing you. So
I may recall that being the party that I'm thinking of,
okay.
and I think I
I think
also
there might have been a time afterwards. I think there was like a disc golf game where like Rada and Nick showed up, and I think you were there too.
perhaps, and there was also I think the John Legend concert. Maybe I saw you there beforehand. The timeline about where all these all take place is just so up in the air because who keeps track of
Yeah,
these things? But you know what? It's good to see that you're doing well. As previously alluded to, you are now recently fully married. So congratulations on
yeah,
that
yeah. I
one.
got the thing.
Yeah, flex that ring.
Thank you, thank you.
Um, so am I correct in saying that it was like initially delayed because of quarantine?
Yeah, for sure. We were originally going to get married May 2nd, and then there was about 3 to 4 postponements before we ended up on July 18th.
And what was it like rebooking? Was it just like was a planner or a venue just like here are the days that we're just gonna have things available as soon as like phase three opened back up?
Uh, it was interesting. It was like a game where kind of like people that had bookings a week or 2 weeks ahead of you would It's like a game of chicken. They would, chicken out and then book a later date. So then you would take the date they just left. And in the back of your head, you're kind of going like, I mean, they left this date for a reason, but what am I going to do? And for Marianne and I, like the obvious option, and a lot of people said, like just wait till next year.
Mhm.
It should be all good by next year. But just because a lot of like personal stuff going on, and she's a resident, and it's like a busy year for her in school. Um, Next year wasn't really an option, so we were just kind of every time something just a little bit further ahead would open up, we would jump on it. And we had some pretty awesome friends and family that were putting up with our shenanigans and having them, guess what, new date.
just keep your schedules clear. You're in quarantine, so you're not really doing anything anyways. But just be sure. Don't plan
Exactly, yeah.
don't plan a barbecue. Don't go out to like a patio somewhere. Just keep your avails open constantly.
Yeah. It was more of a save the calendar and less of a save the date.
It's functionally equivalent to eloping.
Yeah.
just the most elaborate elopement. But yeah, so you've known your what? I don't think I've ever actually learned your wife's name.
Marianne.
Gotcha. So you've known Marianne for a while.
Yeah.
How did you two meet?
Online dating, actually.
Oh shit! It works for people. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I was skeptical, but I'm living proof. Yeah. Yeah, it was coffee meets bagel.
Nice.
Which I was on the verge of uninstalling back then because I felt like the premise was really obnoxious. If you were a guy, you basically got one match a day.
Yep.
And at the time I was living in Goderich, so I got no matches a day until I would come home to visit my parents, and then I'd get my one match.
Yeah.
But it was interesting the way it worked out because she and she won't admit it, but she sent me a direct message as opposed to just matching with me.
Hubba.
She bypassed the system. So
Yeah.
girls on that app have a little bit more power, which that's fine, power to them. But yeah, it was interesting. So she I guess I checked a lot of boxes, and she reached out, bypassing a lot of the stuff that you would normally have to do on the app.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ladies love a handsome young pharmacist such as yourself.
Thank you. You can keep the compliments rolling all day.
I will gladly send them your way. How long had you been on any sort of online dating platform before then?
So I probably started online dating in the last year of pharmacy school. So I'd say maybe 2 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The last person I talked to about online dating was actually Julia Spiegel, because I had come across her on Bumble. It's like, oh, hey, a friend. What do you believe is proper etiquette for when you encounter a friend on a dating app?
I think exactly what you just did. It's probably fine, or just message them on Facebook or something. Be like, hey, saw you on Bumble, and felt like I should just say hi and catch up.
Yeah.
How about you be on my podcast?
That's for a month from now. I got people stacking up. They're lining up to come on this thing, Mark. I moved you to the front of the queue.
I bet. I feel like the premise on your end is you're having the chance to talk to friends you haven't talked to in a long while.
Yeah.
But for us, we just want to talk to you, Chris. This is a great opportunity for us to catch up with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's quickly devolved into just like the wide array of people that I've met in my life to just the narrow slice of people from Cameron Heights.
Oh yeah.
Granted, that's where I probably do most of my socializing, because outside of even when I was in middle school, I was still playing WoW and stuff and just doing most of my gaming outside. But
right.
I think high school is when I started to try and contact new people.
Yeah, and I mean it makes sense. I think friends from before high school are very few and far between, but True. A lot of us keep our high school connections for a very long time, if not forever.
Just like barely conscious about anything that's happening around you.
Yeah, pretty much.
There were some people, like, as I noticed this trend, I was just like, okay, we'll see if I can hit up some people from elementary school. So I did, and two of the people that I messaged was just like, I would love to, but I'm also either having a baby as we speak and are in the hospital, or just recently had a baby. So it's like, oh, that'll be good to get to at another time. Good luck with
Yeah.
your new journey as a parent, I guess.
You might not hear from them for a
It's
while, I
like
think.
I just had no idea that they were even pregnant based on my limited scope of a single social media channel.
Yeah, yes. But I mean, you do get the most out of those social media channels,
Oh,
Chris.
for
I feel.
sure. I'm here to make people entertained.
Like.
If I can get one laugh or a smile out of someone today, I don't even they don't even have to tell me that it happened. As long as I can sense that it happened, that's a good day for me.
Nice, nice. Well, I should probably make it more aware that I get you give me a lot of smiles when I read your posts.
Thank you so much, Mark. Um,
Especially when you're on stuff like like the Champions League and stuff. And I'm like, does Chris really follow soccer, or is he just keeping me updated? Like, what's going on?
there is this like weird thing that other people have brought up where like I don't actively watch sports all that often, but any sports reference I'll make will just be like a few levels deeper than anybody who just like has a cursory glance of it. So it's just like, where did this even come from?
Yeah, like I'm pretty confident you're not like a heavy follower of any like soccer league I'm aware of,
No,
but
not
you'll
at
like
all.
pinpoint like highlights of the day, like
It just
transfer
seemed
rumors,
cool to
stuff like
me
that.
as
And
an
I'm like,
outsider. uh, so
actually when I was telling Marianne that I was doing this, I was like, oh, Chris, uh, he's a friend from high school, and she's like, oh, I've never met him. I'm like, yeah, he's pretty cool. He's essentially like if Facebook was better, or he makes Facebook better. And she's like, what the heck do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. It's just like when I go on Facebook, it's 80% Chris
here's
Waugh, and then
here's
the
a bunch
other
of
20% is
content.
the stuff I don't want.
Here's a bunch of content just like funneled down through like various channels that ended up getting to my Facebook page.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect.
I stay all day on Reddit so that other people don't have to. They can go do productive things because they have those capabilities. But like this is my niche, and this
Hats
is
off
how.
to the service you provide, sir.
Thank you. Um, but yeah, uh, pharmacy school you did for quite some time.
Yep,
Um,
3 years.
and as far as I can remember, that was like always the plan after university. Is that correct?
It was, yeah. That's been the plan since like grade 6.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
going real deep. One of the few people to really just like stick to a stream. Was there any point during those many years where you where you were in school where you're just like, man, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, or was it always just like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing what I set out to do, and it's
Uh,
happening.
no, I was, pretty much dead set and happy with what I was doing the whole time. I have a lot of family in pharmacy, so I had a
I
very
see.
good idea what I was getting myself into. And yeah, I feel like it fits my personality very well. I'm an overachiever, but not to the point where I'll tire myself out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what pharmacy is. It's kind of like the people that could have been, maybe like doctors or fancy scientists if they wanted to be. They did.
Well, you were, as far as I can tell, have always been capable of whatever you set your mind to.
Yeah,
This just could be the compliments hour
I like
version of the
it.
show,
It's a
where we just go back and
feel
forth.
good episode.
Yeah, I mean, like you look outside, you're just like, man, I need some good vibes. So
Mm.
that's what Mark and I are here to deliver. So you get out of school, you secure a job out in Goderich.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was a buffer period in Cambridge working at the Shoppers Drug Mart from hell. They
what was
got
particularly
back.
hellish about it?
It
Just
was
the fact
just,
that it was in Cambridge.
I mean, that definitely added to it, but just, heavy volume, stupid hours,
I see.
crazy patients. So it was just a little bit stressful. And at the time, like Marianne and I were getting pretty serious,
Mm.
and she got stressed because I was stressed, and it just became an issue of both of us actively seeking work elsewhere.
The old spirit link that a good relationship is.
Yeah.
Just like we're gonna shoulder this burden together.
Hmm. Yeah, and then lived out in Goderich for a few years, which was very nice, peaceful.
Any real adjustments to that sort of smaller town living? I don't actually know anything about Goderich.
I didn't know anything about Goderich either until I moved there, to be honest. I applied to work at the Stratford Hospital, and when I got there, they're like, by the way, you actually applied to 2 positions. I don't recall doing
You
so.
didn't know about that at all. But you're
And,
just like jobs, just jobs. Here's all the
yeah.
resumes.
And so it was like a sister hospital essentially in Goderich. And I'm like, oh, cool, where's that? And
Just
they're
keep
like,
going
oh, it's
west.
about like, yeah, an hour from Stratford even, which I was already like, man, Stratford's an hour away. It's a
Yeah.
bit of a commute. But it was a pretty awesome opportunity. I was the only pharmacist in the whole hospital.
Oh wow.
And so it was pretty cool to be like right out of school in a hospital position where you can make some meaningful change to an organization. Um, so I jumped on it. It was pretty awesome being out there, work-wise, but living-wise, definitely some major adjustments.
Mhm.
For the audience that doesn't know much about Goderich, it's essentially a retirement destination. In the summer months, the population's about 24,000, lots of cottages and such, but in the fall and winter, that drops to 8,000.
Oh wow.
Um, so there was never a line at the grocery store checkout. That was good. But it was pretty quiet and not much to do in the fall, winter months. So the first few months I was there, I was just like, man, what am I going to do with myself? And it was a bit of a, trying to fit into this group or go to this activity to meet people kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then I found a board game store, which had a board game hangout kind of thing every Thursday night. And I met a group of like 5 or 6 guys that we hung out every Thursday regularly. We would crack open a board game we'd never played before, and that was how I made friends.
Oh hell yeah. Board games are fantastic.
Yeah, and
Uh,
my board game obsession was, I would say on a like scale of 10 at like a 6 before moving there, and now it's at about an 11. But yeah.
any hot recommendations for anybody still sheltered up at home and refusing to go outside?
Oh, Five Tribes is really good. But if you're like a competitive group of people, it'll get very cutthroat quickly. It's pretty light. It's easy. It's one of those games where it may seem daunting, but then you play around and you're like, oh, this is cool. I can pick this up pretty quick.
Mhm.
But at the same time has some nice complexities that make it enjoyable. And most recently, I got into the Time Stories collection, which is kind of like a time traveler detective kind of
Ooh.
game. So that one's pretty cool. It's got some like Groundhog Day aspects to it, where if you fail, you kind of start over and have to go through everything again. But now you
Cool.
have some knowledge of who not to talk to or where to go. Yeah. And then for some really easy, lighthearted games, like there's the Grizzled or Love Letters for people just wanting something
Ooh.
casual.
I have some friends who came across love letters, I think, last Christmas, and they were having a grand old time with it.
Mm-hmm. It's good. It's a quicker for people that like your parents or something who are maybe hesitant to jump into a board game. That one's
Mhm.
pretty easy to teach and easy to do.
As far as like a sort of classification of games go, what would you say is like your favorite style of game? Like cooperative, multi, or competitive?
Uh,
How are you
I
feeling?
really like semi-cooperative, where throughout the game everyone is quote unquote on your team,
Hmm.
but everyone also kind of has secret motives. Someone might turn out to be the traitor, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So I like the games that kind of throw in like teamwork, but also a bit of deception. Those are always fun. Good examples would be like the Trail at, what's that game called? House on the Hill. The Trail House on the Hill, or Nemesis, which has kind of got like a alien vibe to it. Very cool game as well.
Rad. Board games are good. If you haven't gotten on the train yet, I don't know what you're doing.
Honestly. What about you? What are your favorite stratification of board games?
As a person who doesn't like to lose alone, any sort of cooperative environment is right up my wheelhouse. But I do also dig like a mafia style game. Except what it's really shown me is that I have a terrible read on people and just like cannot detect lying at all. and I feel like I should really be better at that.
Yeah, I love those games when Marianne's not at the table.
She's just like a friggin' Sherlockian type of
no,
presence.
it's the opposite. She can't figure out when I'm lying, and when I am, she gets really mad.
Oh dear.
So yeah, those ones I feel almost guilty when I play and she's at the table.
It's like, you were too good at this.
Yeah.
Just like eyes you suspiciously every single day ever since you first played.
Yeah. Essentially the first round I'm the bad guy and I lie, and then that means in her eyes the rest of the game I'm the bad guy every round.
Just sets up like a memento Polaroid, just like, don't believe his lies. What are his lies even? I don't know. Just assume.
Exactly.
But yeah, so you endured your time in Godrich. You found a bit of a tribe. At what point did you decide to move on to the next thing? And what even is the next thing after that?
So now I work for Sobeys, and I'm a relief pharmacist. So I essentially just like cover sick leaves or vacations, that kind of thing. And I roam all over southwestern Ontario.
Damn.
And basically the decision came down to just, it was, a 2.5 to 3 hour drive to see Marianne, who at the time and still is doing her residency at McMaster in Hamilton. So, we were getting serious. We were talking about, having a life together, that kind of thing. And it just wasn't working out to only see her, once or twice a week. So I definitely wanted to be able to be closer. So, the plan was to live in Cambridge and just, work 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts, and then have 4 days a week off to hang out with her.
Wow.
But then the pandemic happened.
Yeah. That whole thing.
Yeah. And, I got pretty worried for my parents. At the time, I was just staying home, living with them, because we had the May 2nd wedding looming. It was just going to be, a few months living at home. But I didn't want to be working and going out and then coming home and living with them. So I just ended up moving in with Marianne a little bit earlier. And it's been great.
Nice. Yeah. When you said that you had to like work out in Chatham for like the next couple of days, I was just like, what kind of nomad job does he have right now? Because like, I think of a pharmacist, I think it's just like, one person stationed at whatever pharmacy they choose to call home.
Right.
I didn't realize that like this sort of retail store relief pharmacy thing was a thing that existed.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely got some interesting benefits and cons. Chatham so far has been the furthest I've had to come out, and when I do have to come to Chatham, they put me up in a hotel, so it's pretty sweet. So it's nice. Like from a pharmacist perspective, you just kind of walk into a store and your job is to pretty much just make sure the place doesn't burn down. And so you have, compared to just being a staff pharmacist at a single store, you have less responsibility, I guess.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that like showing up and they expect you to know everything that like a regular staffer there would have to know.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
Like where everything is.
Yeah, you're pretty much just there to like tide over everything until the regular staff is back. And then, you know, you make a little bit of extra money because you're paid for all of your expenses and
Yeah.
travel and stuff like that. So it was definitely a really good option leading up to the wedding. It was like a good way to earn some extra money and at the same time have like some days off in the middle of the week when I needed to go to, like, you know, we have to go meet the decorator, or we have to meet so-and-so, that kind of thing. So it worked out really nicely.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I had something and then completely slipped my mind. This is gonna happen every single episode. I swear to God, my brain's freaking made of mush. What are some things that you've noticed? Sorry, have there been any like changes in the pharmacist side of the world that have occurred in like the last decade or so? Um, like any big innovations in that area that you've
Oh,
been a part
no,
of, or things that you've uh, initiated in the places where you've worked?
interesting. Are you hiring me or what's?
I'm just curious because
um,
I like yeah I just want to get an understanding of like anything that's different versus like what I traditionally think of when I think of pharmacists, which is like, okay, you got your pills, people
yeah,
come in, they request their scripts, and bada bing, bada boom, you're in, you're out. Um,
that's pretty much the general consensus for most of the public.
yeah.
I would say in the past decade, actually, there has been like a really tremendous push towards increasing pharmacist scope of practice and essentially taking some of the practices done by physicians and family doctors and giving those responsibilities to pharmacists to
Mhm.
free up family physicians, because we know there's a shortage of family doctors and it's hard for patients to access doctors. So um, most recently, things like travel vaccinations can now be administered by pharmacists. We can extend prescriptions on our own. We can modify them. And we should see in the coming year the introduction of minor ailment prescribing.
Ooh.
So, you know, if you have something like UTI or something that needs like a
Mhm.
rash that needs a steroid cream, or, you know, pretty simple, easily diagnosed pathologies, you can just walk to your pharmacist and, you know, they'll consult with you and ask you the questions, figure out what's going on, and they can prescribe a medication right there on the spot instead of you having to go sit in a doctor's office or the ER for however many hours.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be an interesting change and hopefully something coming recently. It's one of those things that's been on the table for a few years now, and it's always like, oh, you know, just wait till November, it's coming, and November comes and goes, and it's like, oh, wait till January. So, but there was some pretty recent developments and some stuff got approved, so we're looking at hopefully early next year, knock on wood, um, for that to start.
Does that come with a pay increase for you?
It'll be, so a lot of pharmacy is service based. So like if you do it, you get paid, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Understood.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's very interesting actually. It's also very provincial. So, Stratford has had. I'm so sorry.
it's okay.
What am I trying to say? Saskatchewan pharmacists have had a system similar to what we are trying to implement, which is, you know, a list of X number of minor ailments that pharmacists can prescribe for, and they've had that in place for years now.
Oh wow.
But if you go to Alberta, pharmacists need to take like a pretty short duration course, and then they can prescribe any medication they want.
Classic
So
Alberta.
pretty crazy, yeah, the scope of things. Um, but yeah, so there's definitely a push to increase what pharmacists do. I think there's a lot of stuff that we already do that, you know, the public's not fully aware of, like medication management. Obviously, there's the entire over-the-counter aisle where
Mhm.
we're there to, you know, help people out and make recommendations, and that's a lot of the scope for retail. Hospital pharmacy is a completely different animal. A lot of people don't even realize that hospitals have pharmacists, or they don't really know what they do there.
Mhm.
But in hospital, the one component of your job is obviously just verifying the orders written by the doctor, making sure they're safe and they're the best choice, and that kind of route. But the other chunk is a lot of going up and talking to the patients and answering questions and explaining things to patients, or figuring out what they were doing at home, or sometimes even like offering suggestions to doctors that maybe they overlooked something, and we can offer this insight just because we have our expertise in medication.
Oh yeah, really just asserting the fact that you also went to school and know things.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
physicians,
some,
they cram like pharmacology into a semester for them, whereas we take it for 4 years
mhm.
essentially. So there's like and good, really good doctors recognize that. So sometimes they don't even bother to do things like to dose a medication. They'll just write like, this is the drug I want. Let pharmacy pick the best dose, kind of thing. They know better.
Is that what that scroll means? Like
Uh,
they don't need it
uh,
to be legible because the pharmacist will just know.
yeah, that's the other big chunk of our job, is deciphering the handwriting.
Does that come as its own course during your schooling?
It's like a running game throughout the schooling. They'll just put something up and you gotta buzz in quickly. First one that can decipher it. The game show.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of doctors, obviously we have a few people in our graduating high school year that have gone on to different fields of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk to them at all to sort of commiserate or get their perspectives on the whole medical system wherever we may be?
Yeah, I mean, we've got Zuhair, who's doing his residency in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Um,
We got some dental people. We got some optometrists, I think.
yeah, Andrew Beck. Um, who went to dentistry?
Allie,
Oh, yeah.
and I think Gopal did as well.
Yeah, Gopal did. Um, yeah, I mean, IB program, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, and then Marianne is a doctor as well, so her and I
Mhm.
have enough lamenting on the medical
Gotcha.
system at home.
Well, right on, right on. Uh, so
What are you
obviously,
up to these days,
I
Chris?
work I work at an insurance company. Currently, just helping out with claims adjudication.
Oh, okay.
It's very repetitive because I have like a very narrowly
Yes.
defined class of cases that I'm allowed to handle.
Oh, okay.
Um, so it's become just like very much just follow a flow chart. We either have the documents or we don't, and then it's either payable or it isn't based on that sort of checklist thing. Um,
Okay.
but it's fine. Uh, Before that, I was working in the mailroom of the same insurance company, and I think officially that's still my title. But yeah, I applied to it just kind of wanting a job in an office, not really uh, having having great goals for myself, not knowing really what I really wanted to do in life, just knowing that I had to do something because
Okay.
money is a thing that people should be having.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I started doing that, and it was actually just like it's a lot of different tasks, which is great for a borderline ADHD kind of kid like me. Um, to just like have a bunch of different things that you handle a day, and then uh, usually a lot of tech problems would come up, and it just feels good to like be the only person in the room who knows how to solve a tech problem.
Nice. So you're pretty much just like a step away from being part of the IT department. Then
Yeah,
I
pretty
think.
much. I'm one of the few people I think that enjoys sending tickets because I know how to phrase it in a way that they want to get results.
Nice. Nice. You
Um,
probably won't even have to interview.
no, absolutely not. I'm offer only anyways. If I have
Oh.
to interview, that's a failure on them. They're missing out. Just give me the job.
Yep.
But yeah, in the intervening years, there was just like a lot of just kind of coasting and then like some lows. Never, never really reaching like big highs. But I think like maybe 22, 23, I was just like not depressed because I didn't get diagnosed with anything, but just like super down all the time. But I think I'm through that now.
That's good, man. That's
Yeah.
that's actually fantastic. Congrats on that.
And part of it is due to the show. Uh,
Oh, nice.
just talking to people again feels good.
That's awesome. I think the last time I saw you, you were still with UPS.
Yeah, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the store itself got bought out, and they didn't continue to give me a job. So it's like, all right, that's fine. It was just like it was the most extremely part time stuff that like Marco helped me get the job for because I didn't really care either way. I will say it was next to like City Cafe, and I miss having a tuna melt.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Damn good.
Yep.
And I have also been on online dating for on and off for a while. Uh,
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever looked at statistics that people have on online dating surveys, but my demographic suffers terribly,
Oh no.
and it does. That's that specifically is what I blame it on. My personality is fine. My looks are fine. It's just people don't say yes to the Asian boy. But
I mean, I had zero luck and I wasn't getting anywhere. I needed Marianne to actually just dig me out of
yeah,
it.
that's
We just-
all. That's all any guy could ever ask for, right? For a girl to make the first move, woman,
exactly.
if
Hey,
you
she,
will.
she held my hand first on the
Ooh,
first date as
baby,
well. Another thing she won't admit.
getting hot
So
under the collar
she's
here with this
definitely
hand
a go
holding
getter.
talk.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a go getter.
So obviously, one of the bigger stories of this year is a global pandemic.
Mm,
Uh,
bigger, biggest.
yeah, what do things look like from your perspective, and like how have things progressed over the last few months? Just like just take me on a bit of a timeline, like from the outset versus where we are now as a pharmacist.
Uh, as a pharmacist, honestly, for a huge chunk of what everyone else has been experiencing, not much has changed for me,
Wow.
right? Like, we're quote unquote essential,
Hmm.
still going to work every day, got to disinfect stuff now and wear a mask.
Hmm. And, and I
But
suppose it's different from like working at a sort of retail pharmacy perspective versus just like having like a smaller like pharmacy store, right? Because I in the at the company I worked at before we moved offices to Cambridge,
Mhm.
like there's a pharmacy there at Deer Ridge, and I think the guy had to basically put up a sign on the door and just like have extremely limited hours um, to like still serve as many people as he could, but also take whatever precautions were needed.
Yeah, I think a lot of pharmacies have made certain adaptations as needed. I know, like, a lot of smaller town pharmacies essentially closed their doors completely and just offered delivery service.
Mm.
Um, Whereas a lot of the sort of big pharma retailers, there was a period where Sobeys reduced their hours. But that was essentially just because, you have less people in the store, less of a need for longer hours. And that maybe lasted maybe 2 months or so. Um, but yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for pharmacy was when the government said you should only be giving 30 days of medication at a time.
Mhm.
So what that created is 3 times the work for pharmacists, because now we were essentially doing 3 times as many prescriptions, because typically we give 3 months of medication at a time, not 30 days.
Gotcha.
But that also has ended and things have settled back right to where they were. So other than, increased volume and reduced hours, it was still, going to work, doing what you got to do, but behind plexiglass and wearing a mask. That's pretty much
Excellent.
it. Mm.
Gotcha.
But what made it different for me was planning a wedding through it all.
That's true.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We even got to a point where we were ready to just go to the church with 5 people essentially, and that included the priest and a witness. So
Mhm.
it was going to be like one of our parents was able to come sign the document. And then literally the week of the wedding, they opened phase 3, sorry, in Cambridge.
Mhm.
And we were having dinner at the Mill. And so prior to that, it was supposed to be a patio where we had rented out the patio of the restaurant.
Mhm.
Um, and then the guy told us basically, if your numbers are at 50 or less, we can just give you guys can come inside the restaurant and like, do your thing. It's allowed now. So like
Wow.
we were making changes and troubleshooting literally up until 3 days before the wedding. Like I had to get my marriage license 2 days before the wedding. Crazy because all of the city halls and like municipal offices were closed.
Yeah.
So like you had to apply on like emergency basis, and they would give you an appointment. And so like Kitchener wanted me to come the day before the wedding. And I was like, oh, that's a little risky. So I applied to Markham, and Markham gave me a couple of days, which I guess was good enough.
Mm.
Yeah, we were definitely on our changes and developments and, jumping between phase 2 and phase 3 and so forth.
And what was the original plan, sort of honeymoon wise? Because I imagine going somewhere was
Jamaica?
initially part of the plan, and then yeah, now we are where we are.
Yeah, the initial plan was Jamaica. We spoiled ourselves and booked like a really lavish honeymoon at a really nice hotel. Obviously, that got canceled, and we ended up with a crap ton of WestJet dollars.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, so we turned it into a week in Victoria, which actually was beautiful. It was really nice. We really loved it.
And that's presumably where you just came back from, because when I messaged you, you said you were on a flight from BC.
Correct.
I put two and two together. This is why I'm good at detective games.
Yep.
Uh, Anything else that comes to mind that you would like to talk about in the intervening years between now and when we would have last met?
Oh, nothing specific. Nothing that really is on the top of my head. No.
Cool. um, so on the show, we like to have a little segment called "What's Your TED Talk," which is basically if you were given, a TED Talk length, which is like what 5 minutes or so, whatever,
Uh-huh.
to talk about any particular topic in which you're truly over the moon passionate about. What would that topic be?
Oh man, it's probably board games, man. I love them. I could probably go on. I could talk about more board games. I could say like especially now with the pandemic, there's such a great way to like hang out with friends and connect, and like you've got tabletop simulator, so you could do it
Mhm.
remotely.
I was gonna say, do you still play with that sort of like squad that you had back in Godrich over the internet now, or
No, kind of left them behind, unfortunately.
gotcha?
Um, they because they probably still just play. Like
Yeah.
the guy, one of the guys owned the board game store,
Oh, I see.
and they're probably in each other's social bubbles, and they just. um, but no, I still play with like my pharmacy friends and the same guys from high school, like Najim and Akram and so forth. So it's just an awesome way to just like do something casual and just hang out and socialize while also getting to be a little bit competitive
Oh yeah.
and strategic. And yeah, I agree. People that haven't partaken or expanded beyond Monopoly and Catan should definitely take that next step and talk to me about it.
As someone who may be a newcomer listening to this,
Okay.
and is looking for something outside of the traditional ones, your monopolies, your Catans, etc.
Mm-hmm.
What is your first offering for them? I know you mentioned Love Letter earlier for people who may not be fully able to commit to like the deep dive, but what are some other things on other recommendations on that tier?
Uh, you can really take it anywhere. I know like a lot of the big box games can be pretty intimidating to start with. I think deck builders are a really good place to go for people that are just getting into it. You know, you have like the ones that did it first or did it best, like Dominion. I think Clank is a really fun game.
What is Clank?
Clank is a deck builder slash uh, dungeon diver, I guess,
Hmm.
um, where you build a deck to help you either move or fight through a dungeon to get treasure. But everything you do creates noise, which can wake up the dragon sleeping in
Gotcha.
the dungeon. Uh, so it's essentially who can get furthest into the dungeon where the best treasures are and make it out before the dragon wakes up.
I see. Neat.
But yeah, along the way, it has your very standard deck building strategy where you draw as many cards as you can to build your deck and so forth. And
Mhm. Well, not like
it,
not too much generally, just so many.
pardon?
While also like trying to keep your deck streamlined and not like overly bloated because
Exactly.
that's a pretty
Yes.
common pitfall.
Yes.
I
Exactly.
play a lot of deck building based roguelike games on my computer, and I will often just have too big of a deck to be
Yeah.
functional.
Yes.
It's
That's
like
always a
this card
problem.
looks nice. This card also looks nice. I want them all, but also, what am I trying to do here?
Yeah. If you're ever drawing cards that you had in the first like 3 rounds of the game, you're not doing well.
Yeah, you got to get those out of there. They're useless
Exactly.
by now.
Hmm. So yeah, I think deck builders are a good way, and then yeah, like cooperatives, like Pandemic. I know maybe it's a little bit
Mhm.
of a soft spot for me to play right now, uh, but that's a great game, and it got some pretty huge popularity, and maybe started retrending for the wrong reasons recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also a fantastic next step for people that haven't forayed into a little bit more strategic and eloquent games.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask for those recommendations in writing maybe after this call ends.
I got you. Maybe we'll play some tabletop simulator or
Oh hell
something.
yeah, dude! Let's make it happen. Um, so our penultimate segment here on the show, Mark, if you were to host your own version of this talk show, who
Mm-hmm.
would you like to have on as your first guest, or just like who would be your most prized guest? You could flatter by
Like after.
saying, yeah, you could do the flattering thing that other people have done, which is just like, Chris, I want to have you on the show. But we're doing that now, and that's fine. But also, who else? Who else is there?
uh, yeah, I would put my wife on there now. Um, I can't get enough of hanging out with her and talking to her. And
Fair
I feel like
enough.
she would be awkward and squirmy in a podcast situation. So I think that would be very enjoyable for myself and the audience. Um, and maybe if I'm doing like a top 5 here, can I put celebrities on?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Generally, the premise of the show is that people that I talk to people from my past. But if you are thinking of celebrities, actually, sorry, quick tangent. Uh, I was thinking about like how this show could like get more mass appeal, and the answer to that was just like, oh, we'll talk to celebrities that have sort of faded out of the spotlight. Where it's just like, here's a popular singer from like a pop punk band that I listened to when I was in grade 7 and 8.
Mm,
Wonder what their career is like now. Did they still make music, etc.
yeah.
Um, but anyways, carry on with your top five here.
Well, I guess if we're trying to keep it people we knew from the past,
Yeah.
um, I think it would be very cool to get like one of the Cameron Heights teachers on here.
Ooh.
Get like Mr. Schmuck or Mr. Haig on here.
Some of the fan favorites.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
I can get Runky on here.
oh, there you go.
That dude has insane energy.
That would be very entertaining for sure. Or Mr. Knowles would also be very funny to watch, just for the
True.
sarcasm. Um, Zuhair is always a good laugh.
Yeah.
Always has a lot
I,
to talk about. Very
I really
eloquent.
want to get Zuhair on here, but like I can only imagine that's just like so impossibly busy all the time.
Yeah, and he works just insane hours. He's
Yeah.
doing internal medicine, so like he's just up all night and sleeping all day kind of situation.
Mhm.
You already had Nolan Wilson on here,
True.
who no one's more charming and well spoken, I think, from
Indeed.
Earth. Not just that, but you get the bonus of talking about like space, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that was insane. I had no idea.
um,
I will say one of the things that made me think of you after the Nolan talk was that he mentioned Suits. And anytime someone mentions Suits, I just think of that one day way back in like maybe second year university where you had like a Suits viewing party. And I was like, sure, I'll show up. And you were like, there's going to be cute Asian women pharmacists here. I'm just like, oh, hell yeah. Because I'm a creep, it turns out. And then you never told me where you lived. So I just like never showed up. I was like, oh, okay.
oh no! Oh no! Oh, that's a
but
terrible
but
lasting thing to remember.
yeah. But think about it now. I think I would be like too focused on the task at hand as I am often want to do. Where it's like, can you guys shut up? I'm trying to
You
watch the
just
show
really get
here.
into the
I'm
episode.
trying to watch the exploits of Mike Ross. So thank you for sparing me from that. And that's how we're gonna that's how I'm gonna frame it from now on.
All right, I guess there's some
God
redemption.
bless.
My bad.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I think that is a solid list, I would say.
It absolutely is. Um, yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to ask me as we wind down our time here?
Uh, hmm. Who's next? Who's next on the podcast?
Ooh, it is Alexia Hussein.
Oh, that's gonna be a
Because
good
I had
one.
no idea. There were a couple of times because like she went to U of T after high school,
Yeah.
and there were a few times where I headed out to Toronto to hang out with like Micah and people that she also hung out with,
Yep.
and we just have not seen each other since 2010.
That will be a good episode. Another very well spoken, interesting person.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so our final section of the show is just anything that you would like to promote. It is the plug section. Anything of your own work, anything of someone else's work that you want to get out there. You've already got some board game recommendations. If you want to give any like final ones as we wrap up, the
Uh,
floor is yours.
Honestly, I don't want to push a single game too hard because I just want people to play more games. We've talked about Clank, Time Stories, Five Tribes. You can't go wrong with just about any new age good strategic game. I think Wingspan is really popular right now. I haven't tried it, but it's supposed to be a very, visually enticing game. So that might be your thing. Yeah, that's my plug. Play more board games and wear a mask.
Hell yeah, dude. Board games, masks. Mark, Beckett, thank you so much for spending your evening with me.
No, it's really been my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Been great to catch up, Chris.
And to anybody listening, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.